So hello and welcome to the Expat pod and welcome to a shorter quick fire questions version of the podcast. If you haven't already listened to the full episode with Vanessa and I, then please go and do so, as it'll be somewhere around my head now. You can go be looking at YouTube. So I'm joined by Vanessa, who you're a British expat who's lived in a lot of places and is currently living in a lot of places. I guess my first question was, where is your favourite place you ever lived?
Sorry, quick fire.
South Africa. Which part of South Africa and why?
Cape Town, because it has everything. It's beautiful, and there's the whales, and there's the mountain, and there's you can hike, and there's good food, and there's just everything. It's just
and there's penguins, which is why I would love it. I love penguins. What's your favourite international food?
Lamb pleftico in Greece.
Is there a particular reason why? Was there a day you had it which was amazing, or after a long day at work?
I just don't think you can beat slow cooked lamb in the oven with feta cheese on top. Cheese and slow. It's just
I mean, the way you said cheese really sold it to me. So completely. What's your favourite international tradition?
Maybe in France, where you have a 3-hour lunch break to drink wine. I think that's probably one of the best and worst. It's really good. It's also really inconvenient when you need to do your grocery shopping on your lunch break and everyone's gone for wine.
And Carrefour's closed. Yeah.
We Carrefour 12 till 3 because everyone's gone for wine and steak and chips steak frite down the road. But also fantastic. What a day.
I mean, I might start a petition for that to be my work. Steak, chips, and wine every day. I might get fat. Well, the French are incredibly fit. They must. It's the Alpine lifestyle, I'm guessing. So you can walk it off without.
Double back the car in the morning and then ready for lunch.
Yeah, and we're dancing off at one of the weddings you're hosting. What's your favourite thing about living abroad? So what's that one thing which just you love about living away from home or with no home now, I suppose?
The people, definitely. Well, the people or the sun. I follow the sun. Even in the ski resort, right? You get blue skies and the blue sky days, and I just that's the heat and shine. But then definitely the people. That is one thing. People. Let's go to people. The people. Everyone has a story to tell, and everyone is, if you live in the same place all your life, you kind of get very used to everyone around you's ideas and what's the norm. When you're traveling or you're where you learn so. You meet all the incredible people who've had these incredible lives, and it's just, the people.
Yeah, that's the purpose of living, right? Because the people you can share it with. So yeah, I completely agree with that. What's your best homesickness remedy?
I find that really difficult to answer because my parents follow me everywhere, so I don't get sick. They don't let me get homesick. They're like, "Oh, that looks nice. We'll come. Have you got a spare room?" And I've had my parents on bunk beds in a tiny little 1-bed apartment I had in a ski resort once, because just coming out to see me. I think it's quite easy these days to stay in touch via FaceTimes and WhatsApp and just kind of keep that connection and that kind of flow going. It's easy enough to just pick up the phone and call someone and see their face. So just do it and just keep that current so that it's not overwhelming with how much you've got to catch up on. Or also, I think sometimes people can get bogged down with setting a time and, maybe at this time on Thursday we could have a quick FaceTime. Just call them. Just pick up the phone and call them. They're available 5 minutes. That's all you need sometimes. So yeah, just pick up the phone.
I mean, voice notes are also really good, especially if you're long distance to people or your friends and things. It's a good way of getting a 5-minute voice note in just to let everything off your chest. And
yes. See, there's an app.
It's quite therapeutic.
Have you heard of Marco Polo?
No, apart from the game is a kid.
No, so there's an app called Polo. My best friend lives in Australia, so because of the time difference, it's always been difficult to stay in touch. And every day they polo each other, and it's a voice note but with video. It takes a couple of those to get used to. I'm just getting ready, and she's watching me get ready, and I'm telling her everything that's been happening, or I'm showing her a view, and it's a really nice way to do it where then she can watch that back whilst I'm sleeping, and then she'll reply with a live video of her and her baby. Then she'll start cooking dinner and chatting with me, and it's Marco Polo. It's free. It's great.
I'm definitely getting that because that sounds incredible. What's the hardest thing about living abroad?
I'd say safety as a woman is the toughest thing about living abroad as a solo female. We touched on it in the longer version, but just kind of being aware of your surroundings can be a little tiring sometimes. It can be quite exhausting to be consistently and to kind of remedy that in a quick way, I'd just say just make sure you've got a good group of expats around you who know what you are in.
Completely, yeah, that's a very good point, and something as a man I was not aware of so much until you start speaking to people, get the stories, and you go, wow, okay, that's a serious risk. Like growing up, when I went to university, I'd always just walk home at 3 a.m. because I didn't know any different, and then my friends were like, yeah, we know how we're getting home before we go out, and I was like, what, really? Like, it so seems so strange, and it's like anything with empathy, you have to ask people questions and see how difficult it is for some people who have had different lived experiences than you have, and you start to get a picture of how different the world can be depending on your perspective. So thank you for sharing that, and thank you. Hopefully you've helped someone who's listened. Sure.
Not that I'm endorsing all these apps. Sorry, I'm not being paid for any of these apps.
Please do. They sponsor me. So
there's a really good app. So I've had sepsis twice whilst I've been in Asia, and both times was quite fatal. And the first time I was by myself in the Philippines, and I remember lying there. I wasn't aware quite how bad I was, but I remember lying there in the night before I was getting my flight home the next day thinking, I probably won't wake up. And how did my parents, my mum was aware, I voice noted her, I told her, I've been to the doctor. It's a very small island, they don't have blood labs, they're not really sure what's wrong with me, but I think it's bad. I feel really poorly. So obviously my mum's home and worried and all these kind of things. I'm like, but they also don't know, how do they get someone to me? Like, how would they get someone to this tiny little island in the Philippines and get them to open the door? Like, and so since that time, my parents have insisted that we have something called Life 360, tracks us all as a family, which, some people are like, oh, that's all your personal space. I don't live in the same country as them. They don't know where I am, essentially, like it's not an invasion of privacy because, and also I'm old enough and ugly enough now that my parents can know where I am. I'm not sneaking around drinking and things, But it's a really good app it alerts people if you've been in a car crash, it alerts people if there's like an emergency, and it also just, as a female, you can be found at any point. I think that's good.
That's great. I'll definitely be sure to share that on my socials for people to know it exists. It's definitely a great tip. Thank you. What's the best phrase you've learned abroad? That's always quite a fun one to think about. Because you live in so many places, you might have so many different options now.
When you say phrase, do you mean like a phrase in Greek that would be very beneficial to learn?
Anything. Like, for me, it was the word log on, which is like, it's a Goldilocks word because it's neither good nor bad. It's just right. It's a Swedish expression, which we don't really have in the UK. But that kind of thing, it could be something like malakas.
I mean, I think that one of the first things I learned was, I'm probably butchering this and saying it wrong, but it's Yadigumisu Malaka or Adigumisu Malaka, which is very bad if you translate that. And I thought it'd be funny to teach my dad it when he first came home to Greece, when they followed me one time, to say it to one of my Greek friends who worked behind a bar, who was like a very Greek man. Didn't realise quite how kind of Greek males don't take that kind of as a joke from another male. And it literally went for like his stun gun underneath the bar and was like, what? And I was like, George, no, it's my dad. It's fine. I thought it was a joke. I'm so sorry.
Were you filming it as well? Like...
No, unfortunately not. That would have been quite hilarious.
What's your best way of making new friends?
I want to say going to like a club or a group or, all the things that, we tell people to do. I'd actually say one of the ways that I make friends the easiest is asking people to watch my laptop while I go to the toilet. So probably not helpful for half your audience. But I do find that whenever I go to places, like if I'm working from a bar or a coffee shop and I need a wee, you don't want to pack up all your things. So I'll always ask the person next to me, do you mind and I hope that they're not going to steal my life and essentially my office and everything I own. And then you come back and I'm like, thank you. And they're like, no worries. And I'm like, I'm like, oh, thank you for not stealing everything. And you make a little joke and then you're best friends and there you go.
That's great. No, I just pack up and go.
I mean, yeah. I'm lucky that that's never happened. Yeah.
You can leave your fake phone with your fake laptop.
Yeah, I should do that actually. But yeah, I mean groups and, jobs. And do you know what? One good thing, like if you have the time, do one shift in a bar 1 night a week just to meet people, and you'll meet everyone. Like, I think that's
a great
good way to do it, and also a really good way to learn a language.
Yes, that's a very good point. Yeah, if you have the time. I spent 1 night a week in the bar, that helps. I didn't work there, but I spent 1 night a week there. So
you'll get good discounts on your drinks. So for the rest of the week, win-win.
It's a very good point. Yeah, in Sweden you need discount because it's very expensive. What's the best thing to do in a new city? I guess you haven't got one. So if you could choose, go to where you're living now in Greece, what's the best thing to do where you are right now? What will be your one bit of advice to someone who's living there or visiting?
Getting to know the locals. That's something I never did when I first started moving abroad. And whichever city it is, just get a good group of local people, because they'll show you the best things, take the best places. Expats think they know everything. We don't. Go find a local.
Very true. Yeah, you learn a lot more from someone who's been there a lot longer than you, or even learn the language, because you get a lot of the inside information. I found you get special discounts as well if you speak the language. That helps a lot. And then my last question is, what's your best expat life hack?
So recently, I don't know if this translates, because this is more to do with me moving around so much. Kind of does, I suppose. You don't need stuff. You don't need stuff. You don't need, if you're thinking of moving abroad, you don't need everything you think you need. Whatever you think you need 10% of it. I now travel with hand luggage. So all I have is hand luggage, and it's the most freeing thing in the whole wide world. I have no house, I have no keys, I have nothing, just one hand luggage case, which has 2 pairs of trousers, 2 dresses, 2 skirts, 2 pairs of denim shorts, and some toiletries. And it's taken me a while to get to this point. But I think when you're thinking of moving abroad and you're thinking of, I'm going to go live in France, or I'm going to go live in Greece, and you're like, but I'll have to bring my whole house with me. I need all these things. You don't. You don't need anything. You really don't. And I think there's so much consumerism and so much kind of, you have to have all these things to be happy. Like, it can be overwhelming. And it turns out you don't need any more, in my opinion.
No, massive. Especially your phone has so many things on it, right? Like your bank cards, and I guess for you need your laptop and your office, but that's the backpack, right? Backpack and a poly bag, and you're fine. I guess your Airbnbs, you can always wash your clothes, so it's quite useful.
And if not, there's a laundrette corner. It's fine.
Yeah. Great. No, that's a wonderful piece of advice. So I took an SUP with me, so I just had one big suitcase full of one inflatable surfboard, which was the opposite of you, I think, which I had to take on a train through Europe, which was difficult. So I did, yeah, it was, I think it's like 22 kilograms or something. So it's, it was fun. It meant I could SUP places, but it wasn't the most practical thing to move around. But I still have it, so it's great. Well, thank you for your time. Thank you for your kind of transparency with all your answers and all your kind of insight into your life. It's been great learning about the amazing highs you've had, but also the lows, which are very much a part of living abroad, and people need to be very vigilant with certain things. So thank you for sharing that and being so brave and sharing that. It's not easy. I understand that completely. So thank you for having the willingness to do that, and hopefully inspiring someone else or helping someone else who might be listening to this now and wanting to live abroad. So thank you. And as always, if you have enjoyed the podcast and do want to learn more, then subscribe to it, follow us on socials, and you'll see Vanessa, I'm sure, in the show notes. But also we'll put your stuff on LinkedIn. No, it's on LinkedIn, that too, but also Instagram, which is the main one. And we'll see you next time for the Expat Pod.